The Nephilim and the Takla Makan desert of China. That's the place where Alexander the Great, about 330 BC, had gone to. And he was supposed to meet an Atlantean extraterrestrial there, who was supposed to land there with a spacecraft and give Alexander the Great a very advanced weapon that he would use to conquer the places that he went to. Now, in Christian beliefs, the desert is also associated with angelic order of the Nephilim, the fallen angels, which in the Hebrew language means fallen. Two texts of the essential importance of the history of the Nephilim, the Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls, mention various names for these fallen angels. The relevant belief supports the view that the Nephilim were exiled to the Takla Makan desert in northern China, a name that in the local language means you enter but you can't come out. This desert receives very cold air masses from Siberia, which lower the temperature to extremely low levels even in the summer. Sometimes they reach values below 20 degrees, minus 20 degrees Celsius, and because of its location in the center of Asia and the thousands of kilometers that separate it from any source of water, is practically impassable. The wildness of the desert is therefore suspected to have led to the belief that it was a place of exile of the Nephilim, the fallen angels. The recorded traditions state that Shem Hazai, the high-ranking angel, led a group of angels who descended to earth with the purpose of guiding people on the right path. For those who delve into myths and the interpretation of symbols, the writer says, I must say that the myth of the descent of angels to earth is interpreted by some as an ancestral cosmic memory of the era when the development of the neocortex of the brain began and man separated himself from the animal state and from nature. That is, memories from the dawn of Homo sapiens, the wise man. The guidance, according to the myth, continued for several centuries, and here we see the evolutionary course of mankind. But soon the angels began to seek the earthly women because they were attracted to their beauty. As it says in Genesis 6, I think that this is a reference to the instinctive human impulse towards the process of reproduction. So they mated with them and created hybrid offspring, in which the human mortal of the body coexists with the angelic immortality of the soul. In other words, it refers to the time when man moved away from the law of the jungle, which according to modern assumptions is evil, and approached good with the development of logic, which led to submission, initially to ethos, morality, habit, and later to the rules of the group. And the writer says, I think it's worth remembering something that concerns our ancient ancestors. So according to mythology, in the Takla Makan desert, 2,000 years before Alexander the Great, the ancient Greek Dionysus had campaigned and had established garrisons which evolved into cities. Although both Dionysus and his campaign are placed in the realm of myth, the curious thing is that ruins of these cities with purely Greek architecture are still found there today by archaeologists. At the same time, however, mummified bodies of tall, brown-haired people are also being discovered, whose DNA has nothing to do with that of the Chinese or other indigenous tribes. Researchers suspect that the guards of Dionysus had some extraordinary mission because otherwise there would have been no reason for their presence in the frozen desert. Were they keeping some very serious secret? And what was it? It's not known, only speculation is made. In Takla Makan, it said that there is an ancient, enormous white pyramid on top of which there was a temple of Baal. Below it, at a depth of 10 kilometers, there is an underground city called Ma Taneh, meaning White City, which is believed to be governed by a 12-member council and presided over by the Archangel of Darkness Samael. The goal of this council is the coming of the Antichrist. Other records state that the Nephilim were an ancient race whose members were distinguished by their power, sinfulness, their achievements in black magic, as well as their hatred of everything human. They are presumed to have come from fallen angels, and according to some researchers, they are not considered earthly beings, since they can and do move in invisible form. It's also reported that they even take human form and influence many situations on the planet, controlling the decisions and actions of people, even those in power. The leadership group, also known as the White Brotherhood, is also accused of leading humanity into constant conflicts and wars, and thus many believe that the protocols of the Elders of Zion, which according to some aim at attempting globalization, their innovations with the aim of dominating the earth. And the layers of these exist in other parts of the earth, awaiting the coming of the Antichrist to dominate our world, and in fact some claim that they are responsible for everything bad that happens to humanity, and that they are leading people towards destruction. Closing the topic of the Nephilim, we must point out the claim of some researchers that Aristotle, the ancient Greek, he was the teacher of Alexander the Great, was aware of this secret and had entrusted it to his student Alexander the Great. And for this reason, the great general Alexander the Great carried out a very difficult campaign in the region, following the same course as Dionysus. Some researchers go further and claim that Alexander's purpose was to subdue this hybrid race of Nephilim. He called them the abominable race, to close the exit gates of this white state and to bestow goodness on humanity, freeing it from these evil spirits that inhabit the desert. So he locked them, he threw them into what he didn't do away with, he threw into pits, covered the pits with various metals and built pyramids on top of them. And here is it's worth noting that indicative of the assumptions about the relationship between the desert and satanic forces is the fact that for centuries, the Tuareg have covered their faces in the mouth area, which they believe protects them from evil spirits, which can enter through their mouths. So you understand that this is superstition, and it was dominated by the need to protect themselves from the sand, which can create serious respiratory and other problems, which the Tuareg attribute to evil spirits of the desert. Please leave your comments about this, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.